I've been a client partner of Voltage since early 2020. I had absolutely no idea what I was going to sell or what I was getting myself into, right? But I had confidence that your team, your coaching platform would help me through it. We launched in October 22nd of 2024, and we built momentum, right, in our first 365 days. So just looking back, October of 2025, we crossed $433,000 in gross sales.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We're here with David today. So I'm going to put a disclaimer on this for those of you that are listening, similar to the call I had recently with Ashley a few episodes ago. Go check that out because she was really talking about her personal and professional development, her walk in the business as she was building up herself to $500,000 in sales, why she almost quit and then decided to get back in it again, and is really seeing a huge amount of upside since she decided to reapproach this with her mindset. She was a client and is a client of Voltage, and I'm actually got another client here today to talk about those the same thing. So all disclaimers apply as you're listening to this, both on the audio or maybe you're watching us on YouTube. Hello, always like, subscribe, comment, and share with somebody who hears the good news and the struggle and the opportunity and the development of all of this. But as all things, I will put the disclaimer out there in terms of all things relative to this conversation. This is David's story. This is his walk with us as a client. This is the pros and cons of building a real business and its opportunity, the no fluff conversation, the no, internet guru marketing talk. If you hear numbers, if you hear revenue, if you hear things that are related to the business, there's earnings disclaimers. You're welcome to check that out on our website because not all results are typical. And there are always challenges and opportunities in business, and those who continue to persevere past those will meet their opportunity. And I hope that today you will learn and go through some of that conversation with us in real time as I'm talking with David today. So with all of that aside, thank you for staying with me so far in this conversation. As always, thank you for being a likable, fun guy. Thank you for, coming on the podcast and just being your jolly self, because I appreciate you.
Neil, thank you for having me. It is so great to be here and just to tell a little bit about my story and my journey with Voltage. And so again, just thanks for having me. I'm flattered that you've invited me.
Well, let me give you the floor and just ask a very general question, an open-ended question, and let you kind of, go answer it however you want to. And that is, what's your journey been in this business process so far?
Yeah. So again, thanks for having me. Just a little bit of background on me, my 8 to 5, right? My everyday is I'm an operations manager at Wealth Wall Street, strategic IBC. And as I stated earlier, I've been a client partner of Voltage since early 2023. And just a little background, I first met you and your team when you spoke at one of our live events, January of 2023. Has flown, right?
Yeah.
That was the very first time that I had ever really been exposed to the idea of building an e-commerce business that sells physical products online. And honestly, the numbers you shared blew me away. The size of the opportunity, the shift from brick and mortar to online retail, the massive transfer of wealth that's happening right under our nose. I walked away thinking, all right, how do I become a part of this? Right. I knew I wanted to build something that would create wealth, create legacy, benefit my family for generations. So obviously we connected. I reached out to you after the event. We talked. You walked me through the process. I signed up, right? And joined the Voltage platform as one of your business builders. And
that's awesome. Yeah. And it was fun meeting you and going to those events and talking to people about the realities of business building. It's not the hopium overnight, guru thing that people talk about. It is a multi-year strategy to become part of the 1% of people who get into successful businesses and build them and sustain them and profit and grow them. It isn't, we all love to hear the, 12 months and I made $1 million kind of stuff, but it isn't the truth behind everything, is it?
No,
it's the process of getting to there and persevering past the challenges until you reach those goals. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit more for us. Tell us a little bit more about how that journey has been going so far.
Just like anybody else, I will just say I had absolutely no idea what I was going to sell or what I was getting myself into, right? But I had confidence that your team, your coaching platform would help me through it. So just a little bit more about my story. I dove in, right? We spent the first several months just building product lists, right? Doing our market research, learning how to think differently, right? I think that's one of the first things that you told me, you taught me was, hey, I got to learn how to think differently, think like a retailer, how everything that I see is potential product idea And so I dove in and, at the same time, I'm juggling a full-time job, family, kids, responsibilities, just, life. Like everybody's got life going on, responsibilities, those types of things. And so at some point I realized I was in the deep end of the pool without a life jacket. I was overwhelmed and I really felt like I was drowning, right? I didn't think I was going to be able to do this and do it on my own and do it alone. So again, you and I reached out to you and you and I talked. You were gracious and you offered me an opportunity to join the Voltage Partner Program. And that was somewhere around November of 2023, right? And that one decision kind of changed everything for me. It allowed me to keep momentum and not carry the weight of the entire process by myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a thing that, a lot of people get into in the idea that there is, there's a perfect process there, which there isn't. There's actually a process by which imperfections allow you to grow personally and professionally as you figure out how to solve those problems that all business owners face. And there are things that sometimes and you don't know. And that's one of the, ways you reached out and said, okay, I don't know what to do next. Do I keep going? Do I stop? And of course, you had the option of doing any of those things. And you chose ultimately in your own, self-will to keep going, which is one of the things that a lot of people would not have done at that point. What has been the outcome of your, let's say your personal development first, in that process of continuing forward and making that decision? What did it do for you personally?
The lessons I've learned, right? There's been many. I think the first lesson that I would like to share with everybody is starting a business from scratch is hard, can be scary, right?
Yeah.
And quite honestly, there's always those voices in our head of self-doubt saying that you can't do this, right? And so, you gotta push through the fear and continue to take little consistent steps every day, even when it looks like nothing's happening, right? That's where discipline and resilience get built, to use a gym analogy, right? It's lifting those weights every day. And that's how you build that muscle. And so just, if anything, starting a business is hard, right? I think the second thing that I've learned is it requires patience and a high level of commitment, right? We live in a microwave society, right? I think everybody understands that analogy, right? Everybody wants instant results, but real success takes time. It took me 6 months just to realize that I needed help, right? It took us literally another year to launch and then another year to learn how to operate the business properly, right? So we're still progressing and it's a slow progress, but we're making steps every day, right? And I think that's the part that most people underestimate, right? Or don't allow enough time for.
Yeah, they call that emotional. There's an emotional cycle of change that you kind of gone through. The challenge is if you don't have somebody, you don't have a group, you don't have somewhere to churn for help or support or questions or camaraderie, you end up in the bottom of that valley of despair where you think it's all hope is lost. There's no opportunity. I failed the process. The process failed me. This isn't going to go anywhere.
I'm not. And that's right. I mean,
right. Yeah, all those voices in your head, the angel and demon on your shoulder are telling you all these things. And sometimes it's easier to listen to the one that tells us that everything is bad and it's a failure and all these things aren't going to work. But something actually did work, didn't it? In about November 2024, roughly, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we went back and I'm going to step back just a second and
go ahead.
Tell you some of the early challenges.
Sure, please.
And then we'll get to the fun part, I think. But, we spent the later part of 2023, early 2024, just vetting products, right? Analyzing niches, trying to figure out what we were going to sell. And ultimately we landed on what became our brand, Threads of Egypt, a premium Egyptian cotton bedding line, right? So in May of 24, we thought we would be ready to ship. Guess what? We weren't.
Right.
Production delays pushed us back ultimately until August of 24. And finally, on October 22nd, 2024, we went live on the Amazon FBA platform. And my very first sale, I love telling this story. My very first sale was my mother-in-law. And I'm so grateful for just
family support. Gotta love that.
Support and how much she's just loved on me from the very beginning. So that's kind of where it took off. But like I said, we launched in October 22nd of 2024 and we built momentum, right? In our first 365 days. So just looking back, just not too far back to October of 2025, we crossed $433,000 in gross sales.
There you go.
Right.
That's
And
pretty
we went
good.
through a period of time. I haven't told that part of the story yet. We went through a period
Well,
of time out of stock for about 5 months, right?
yeah. So I think it's important you cover that. What happened, because this does happen with physical products, but you were out of stock for 5 months of that 1 year period you just explained and still went past 435,000, 402,000 in sales roughly.
Yeah. 433,000. Well,
433. I was in there somewhere.
yeah. So what happened is we launched during Q4 of 2024.
Mhm.
We launched right as we're going into the holiday season, right? And Black Friday and Christmas and all of the things, right? So we didn't have any idea how our product was going to be received by the market. That was the first question we had to answer, right? We
Yep.
have a good product. How well does the market receive it? And not only was our product received well, it sold almost too well. We sold about 90% of our inventory in that first 60 days. And so we're rolling into January of 25 with practically nothing left to sell. We're flying down the tracks at full speed and we're like ripping back on the brakes, trying to slow this train down because we couldn't keep up with demand. And so we immediately go into restock mode, right? And trying to coordinate with the supply chain and manufacturing and all of that. And literally spent from January to May trying to get restocked, right? Super frustrating, but also part of the learning curve of e-commerce. When inventory finally arrived in May 2025, we ramped back up again. So when I say we did $433,000 in our first 365 days, there was literally about a 5-month window there where we had almost nothing to sell.
Yeah. And that's such a strange thing to say because everybody's like, but why didn't you buy more inventory? Like, why wouldn't you get it, faster? Why wouldn't you? What do you say to some of those things that you sort of understand what's going on?
Well, e-commerce forces you to solve problems you didn't even know existed, right? I mean, I had no idea there were going to be production delays, freight challenges. There's a pay-per-click learning curve, right? Quality control, inventory forecasting. Inventory forecasting is huge. We sat down at the end of last year and said, we got to map out not just the next order, but the next series of orders and give our manufacturer a plan for the entire year so that we don't ever run into these types of obstacles again. But you just don't know those things until they happen, right?
That's right.
So once they happen and you've learned it, then it typically doesn't happen again.
Well, or we can tell you 100 ways to Sunday, put it in the training, talk about it on Wednesdays, tell you again what's happening in the videos, and then tell you again on a call what's happening. But until you actually experience it, that doesn't connect with the knowledge gap until the experience kicks in.
That's right.
Then the experience gives you and goes, oh, that's what the knowledge was. Oh, that's what they meant by this. Oh, that's why they kept talking about this. And that experience actually translates that into real world understanding. And now it's part of your intellectual property that you experienced and now gain understanding and knowledge from. People don't always appreciate that. They think they can just learn it and try it one time and don't, get that knowledge gap to execution because maybe they don't want to execute. Maybe they're afraid to try or whatever. And they don't actually translate that into a real learning experience. And that's really what you got was a real learning experience of the things that we've talked about, but now you understand. It makes sense.
As many times as you said things to me until I went through it, the dots didn't connect, right?
Yep, that happens.
And that's just life, right? I mean, how many times have we told our kids, don't do that?
Yeah.
As soon as they do that, they realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
It's really the opposite of everything. Eat those cookies.
That's right.
Stop slapping your hand when you try to get in the cookie jar.
That's
That's a great thing though, but it's also a challenging thing because then you start to see the business for what it is and where it can go. And you actually start to figure out, well, I'm going to say this maybe the wrong way, David, and you correct my language. Am I built for this kind of business?
Yeah. I mean, every day you're breaking down walls. Every day you're pushing through new obstacles. You're dealing with new challenges. Is that the type of, is that what you want? Right.
Yeah. Is that the environment you thrive in? Right. Or do you feel
is that the environment that you thrive in? I think you need to understand who you are, your temperament, your personality, your ability to withstand challenges and persevere. All of that is important. I also think it's hugely important to battle and overcome what I like to call is arrival syndrome.
What do you mean by that?
arrival syndrome is when you think you already know the answers, right?
Okay.
And that mindset kills opportunity, right? If I had gone into this process thinking I already knew everything, I would have missed out on so much. I missed out on a great product, which I think we have an outstanding, fantastic product.
We do.
I would have missed out on all of the learning, and we're continuing to learn every day. We're continuing to face fear. We're continuing to push through barriers, and I think more importantly, one of the other greatest things that I've learned from working with you and your team is that you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Right.
We didn't reinvent the wheel, but we did do something unique with your product and brand that I think we got to call out, because there is that component of a unique selling position that takes your product and others out of the Me Too category. Tastes like chicken. Oh, did you buy it from China and it looks like everybody else's product? We're brand building is what I'm getting down to, right? So
Yeah.
what do we do with your product specifically that created a brand identification, a unique selling position that really helped it out?
We took what was already a great product in the marketplace and made it our own, right? We created our own brand around it. We put our own tweaks or optimizations, might be a better word,
Yep.
around our product, and had a manufacturer that was willing to design it and craft it according to our specifications. And then we put it out to the market in a different fashion so that it looked different, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to go to market with not only the best premium Egyptian cotton that money could buy, but we also wanted it to look different. And so we created a brand and a logo that is very Egyptian looking,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives nods to the origin of where our product comes from. So
Yep.
we did all of those things strategically to
Well, it took one extra step, which took a few months longer to get to market, but it was completely worth it. When we had done all that process, if you remember, we went and solicited a registration number for it, didn't we?
Yeah. And then to make it, above board so that it was without question and not just based on our own solicitations or our own marketing, but we went and said, hey, Egyptian government, we want you to certify our product to verify that it is 100% pure and that it is not some blend or something like that would diminish the quality or the value of what we're trying to sell. And so, yeah, learning how to wait on a foreign government to certify your product.
But
Yeah.
man, what a unique selling position that was, as we did end up getting registered as an official product with the Egyptian government, one of only 7 that have a registration number for a pure product. And that's one of the unique selling positions. Once we kind of know we have a great product, we take it out and we expand the intellectual property of that business. And so what that does is it takes a business beyond just a particular product and moves us into just a whole product line, a certified product that is backed under by, in this case, the Egyptian government's registration number. We have a very serious product that people actually love. And of course, that creates that unique selling position as a brand should. So a lot of people think, well, you're just flipping products on Amazon, or you're just flipping somebody else's, or you're just doing a basic manufacturing. And that's not really what this is about at all, is it?
No, not at all. I love one of the first things that I locked in on when I heard you speak for the very first time is that you helped us build a business with the exit in mind, right? And so we're building a brand that maybe one day we will be able to sell. And that's kind of the goal. We don't have a timeline on that. I'm not saying I want to do it tomorrow or next year or the next 3 to 5, but we are building it intentionally and by design so that one day, if the right person comes along, or if the right entity comes along, or the private equity comes along and says, hey, we love what you're doing and we want to take it to the next level, that opportunity is there. So,
Well, and as we go through the opportunities and challenges, we go through the growth, there will continue to be other things we have to change, optimize, like any real business does, to increase everything from profitability to brand expansion to omni channels, because what we're building is an empire of legacy. Speaking to the men who are here, and I think you resonate when you're talking about, what are we doing in the future? What's the future, opportunity? What's the purpose of the long-term goal here? And the goal of all of that is to build a generational wealth opportunity for you and your family, to build a legacy, something that could even be handed down to your kids, right? And your family, who could be a part of this for a longer term thing David's really thinking, for those listening, beyond himself. His current struggles and his challenges or opportunities are all there because he sees it as something that is greater than himself. And that's why that purpose is going to drive and has driven him to greater and farther lengths than the people who just get into business to make money for the only reason why they're in business. Did I kind of say that right for David, or maybe you want to use your own words there?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what we're trying to do. You know, part of what I do with my 8 to 5 is we try to help people who want to become financially free get there faster. That's our mantra, and I'm trying to do that for myself, right? And commerce is the path for me that I have chosen. It suits me and who I am as an investor and as a business owner, and the things that I want to be involved in. And so I'm doing this because I want to create a legacy for my kids, for my grandkids, for my grandkids, right? It's so that's kind of why we do what we do, and that's why this partnership with Voltage has been so good for me. I've learned so much. I've had a lot of growth, and we've gone through a lot of challenges together, and we're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to face challenges, and we're continuing to dial things in, right? We haven't got it. Again, arrival syndrome. We haven't arrived yet.
No. I mean, we haven't arrived because 5 months out of stock meant this was a $850,000 in revenue brand. So we know that if we continue to change and pivot through challenges and continue to grow opportunity, it's $1 million plus year brand. Our goal is to get up to 5 million a year. So come challenges or not, it is going to be the path, a profitable 5 million in revenue. Let's be very clear, because everybody likes to use revenue, but they get away from the profits. Right. Profits have to be plowed back into the business growth, right? That is one of the things I want people to be very clear about, is profits have to be put back into business growth so that as growth continues and net profit grows off that bottom line across multiple channels, not just Amazon, because this needs to be an omni-channel brand. We've talked about that. Then you grow a higher exit valuation for the business that you're going through, and obviously can toss off more profit as we reach past 1 million in sales. And the gold target of 20% net profit in the bottom line, that's what we're shooting for. And what I think a lot of people don't understand is you can get to 400,000 to 500,000 in sales and still be at break even in your growth cycle. I know that everybody wants to say, well, we're taking home, 100, 200,000 a year in profit. But when you look at that in terms of the greater opportunity, that's actually short-sighted. I know it's what everybody kind of wants to hear. And I get it, because they hear it a lot on the hopium interwebs of the, YouTube gurus. But they're not telling you how long it really took to get that thing dialed in for true profit and true growth, and what some of the risk and rewards are of making it go down. And you're seeing it now through experience, which means it's going to only get greater in its opportunity as we dial in what challenges we face next. And instead of seeing them as like business ending challenges, they're solvable challenges in the business growth, because you have a going concern, right? You have nearly a $450,000 a year business that anybody listening to this would be silly to walk away from, with as much growth opportunity and capital you have into it, as well as how much inventory you can sell through at the rate that the market wants to take it from you. It's just one of those things that I think, there's a path here you're on, and you're on the next level of mental growth so that your business can grow with you. Because I think a lot of people tie those somehow, they tie them together. Does that make sense, David?
Yeah, absolutely.
They tie one thing to their emotional thing, and then they start to hold back on the business when the business is saying, here, I'm ready to keep going. Just keep working with me until I keep moving forward. It's an entity at this point. It's its own entity. It's moving under its own engine. And I think you have to get, the goal here is for us to get out of the way of it, which is challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're headed into the holiday season right now, right? And we've got more inventory than we've ever had, which is exciting. But we're still having to dial in the pay-per-clicks, right?
Yep.
And we're still dealing now with some refunds, and returns. And so we're continuing to face new challenges, and we're having to pivot and figure those out. So profitability is the number one goal, and your goal is to get to profitability within 12 months. This is not the right business for you, right? We're continuing to learn. We're on a learning curve. We're 2 years into this now, 2+ years into this, and we're still continuing to learn. We're still trying to tweak. We're still dialing it in, just so that we can get to sustainable profitability
It's asset
Everyone wants
building,
to-
right? I
right?
mean, at this point, you've got assets and inventory,
That's right.
collateral, brand, and all kinds of things.
And we're
Um,
expanding. We're
oh yeah,
expanding our product line, right? We initially went to market with a 1,200 thread count, top of the line premium product, but we realized that there's a client base that's not being served by our product. And so we introduced a 400 thread count version of our high end product that is now, available to a different client base, right? So we're in two channels now and we're still growing and we're still trying to expand now colors and adding additional sizes. And so,
yeah, and we'll find out which of those ones really become the hero products
yeah,
that round out the entire portfolio of the brand, and that's when things get to be a bit fun.
yeah.
Where do you see, just from your space here, and I won't keep you on the spot too much longer. You're doing a great job. Where do you see yourself headed next?
I guess final thoughts, right? I guess,
Sure.
if I had to sum it all up in one message, I would say growth is hard, but it's worth it. This journey will challenge you, stretch you, force you to break through barriers you didn't know existed, right? But the opportunity in front of us, in front of me, is enormous, right? I'll be 3 years into this journey here real soon, and I've never been more excited or more scared, right?
There you go. There's
Let's be
nothing
real.
wrong with that, man. That's just
There's
the truth.
nothing wrong with that. And let's be
Yeah.
real. I mean, this can be, again, it can be scary. And yet I refuse to let fear make decisions for me, right? I truly believe Threads of Egypt will become a multi-million-dollar business that changes my family's life and destiny for generations. And so if it resonates with you, right? If you're listening to this and that resonates to you, reach out to Neil and his team, have a conversation, or Neil, have them reach out to me, because
Sure.
if you have the desire, the willingness, and the patience and the commitment, right? You can absolutely do this. Man, Neil, that's about all I've got. Thank
Yeah.
you for having me. I really appreciate
I
everything
appreciate you
you
coming
and
on.
your team has done for me.
Well, I'm very grateful. I know there's been the ups and downs, and I appreciate your tenacity and perseverance and willingness to work the process and keep going. And yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to talk to David, you're welcome to reach out and chat with him. He's very open about his conversation. He'll let you know exactly what's happening. So if you have any ideas or thoughts or inclinations that, in the coming year, this might be something you want to do, look at it for what it is. Be practical, do your diligence. I always encourage that. If anybody works with us, it's application only anyways. So you would have to apply and find out what we're doing, and we'd need to be a good fit for each other. And again, if anything resonates, that's great. If not, that's okay. Keep listening to the podcast, keep listening to the additional stories, keep going, keep persevering through your challenges. And, maybe you'll end up in the David position if you get out there and decide to go for it. And if you don't want to go it alone, just hit us up and we'll see what happens. But as always, thank you, David, for your time, for your attention, for your willingness to do what others have not been willing to do. And that's why I'm very grateful to have you on the call today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Well, guys, listen, follow the episodes, keep going. This is going to come out here very shortly in this year. We're in the fourth quarter. Things are moving quickly. As always, check out and subscribe and we have a Friday podcast, Week in Review, that you guys should check out as well. So you definitely want to check that out. And I will catch you guys on the next episode. Remember, like and share this comment with anybody who might need to hear this story or just want to understand what's going on in the numbers in the world and the opportunity with a business that is a business building, asset driven kind of business model. But be practical and understand what it takes to do it. It's not for everybody, but those who win, they definitely win when they work with a group and community. And guys, as always, remember, your opportunity begins at the end of your excuses. I'll see you on the next episode.